My parents took my college fund for my brother's MLM. 10 years later, I crashed his wedding, and that's when they begged me for forgiveness. I'm Nick, 32, male union electrician, making solid money and running my own side business. But 10 years ago, I was just another broke kid from Akron getting screwed over by the people who were supposed to have my back. Here's the Gilbert family dynamic. Dad, Dennis, was a foreman at the steel plant before it closed, then bounced between factory jobs. Always ticked about something, always talking about back in my day and how kids today were soft. Mom Renee worked as the DMV and spent most dinners complaining about idiots who couldn't fill out forms right. Then there was Killian, my older brother. 2 years older, played varsity baseball. Pulled girls without trying, had that cocky smile that got him out of trouble with teachers and parents alike. Me, I was the weird kid who actually studied and worked on cars in the garage. While Killian was partying every weekend, I was pulling overtime at the grocery store and acing my classes. Here's the thing about Killian. Dude was a master manipulator from day one. When we were kids, he'd break something, then convince my parents I did it. In high school, he'd borrow my car and bring it back empty, tell my parents I forgot to fill it up. Small crap that made me look irresponsible, while he looked like the victim of my selfishness. The pattern was always the same. He messes up, blames me, or circumstances, parents bail him out. I get lectured about helping family. Senior year, he crashed his car while intoxicated and totaled it. Parents bought him a newer one. When I asked why I had to keep driving a '98 Honda with 200,000 miles, Dad said Killian needed reliable transportation for job interviews. Meanwhile, he was working part-time at GameStop and spending his paychecks on weed. I worked at the same grocery store for 3 years every weekend and most evenings. Saved every dollar that wasn't gas money or school supplies. My parents had been putting away $150 a month since I was born for the boys' education. By graduation, there was about $22,000 sitting there. I had it mapped out. Community college for 2 years, then transfer to Akron for electrical engineering. Work part-time, live cheap graduate with minimal debt. 3 weeks before classes started, I drove to the bank to transfer tuition money. Account balance zero. I stared at that screen for like 5 minutes. Drove home in a daze. Walked into the kitchen where my parents were eating dinner like any other Tuesday. Where's my college money? Mom didn't look up from her meatloaf. We had to make an investment. What investment? Killian's business opportunity. He's going to pay it back with interest. That's when they dropped the bomb about his revolutionary business venture. After barely graduating, Killian had bounced between jobs. Couldn't keep anything longer than 6 months because showing up on time was apparently too difficult. But he had big dreams and bigger excuses. Some guy at the bar told him about selling premium car care products, not running a detail business, but recruiting other people to sell products while you collect commissions. Classic MLM garbage with a $25,000 startup fee. It's not like those pyramid schemes, Dad said. This one's legitimate. Your brother's got the personality to make it work. What about my college? Community college is plenty good. You can work while you study, builds character. I looked at Killian, who was scrolling through his phone and not even pretending to pay attention to the conversation. Killian, you stole my college fund. He looked up with that crap-eating grin. Borrowed, bro. I'll pay it back in 6 months when I'm pulling $5 grand a month. Then I'll help you with your little electrical school thing. My little electrical school thing? What if your business fails? It won't. He shrugged like the possibility was absurd. I'm not like those other losers who couldn't make it work. I actually understand people, right? The guy who'd been fired from GameStop for showing up high understood people. Mom, Dad, this is my money from my college fund. You can't just give it away. That's when Dad's face went red. Watch your tone, boy. This family makes decisions together. And we decided Killian's opportunity was best for everyone. Best for Killian, you mean? Best for the family, Mom snapped. Killian's going to make enough to help everyone. Your college can wait a year or two. Can wait a year or two. Like my future was some casual thing they could postpone whenever Killian needed bailing out. I asked if they could spot me even a couple thousand for community college tuition. Dad actually laughed. You want us to pay for college twice? Learn some responsibility, get a job. Save up, pay your own way like I had to. Never mind that Dad dropped out of high school to work at the steel plant. Killian was still smirking at his phone. Chill out, Nick. It's not like you're smart enough for engineering anyway. This MLM thing's way more advanced than what they teach in school. That's when I lost my temper. Told them exactly what I thought of their golden boy favoritism. Told them Killian's business opportunity was obvious garbage that any idiot could spot. Told them they were stealing from their own son to bankroll a proven loser's delusions. Dad stood up, chest puffed out. You watch how you talk about your brother, and you watch how you talk to us. This is our house, our rules, and my money that you stole. That's when he delivered the line that changed everything. If you can't support your family's decisions, maybe you should find somewhere else to live until you learn some respect. Are you kicking me out? I'm telling you to adjust your attitude or find somewhere else to do your complaining. Killian was enjoying the show. Maybe sometime in the real world we'll teach him how business actually works. Looking back, I think Killian wanted me gone. Easier to manipulate our parents without me pointing out his nonsense. So I went upstairs, threw my life into 3 bags, closed my tools, some books, had maybe $800 in cash from grocery store work. Came back downstairs. Killian had disappeared. Probably went to call his loser friends and brag about getting me kicked out. Mom was fake crying. Dad was still puffed up like an angry rooster. You'll be back, Dad said, soon as you realize how good you had it here. I stopped at the door. You know what the difference is between Killian and me? I actually work for what I want instead of stealing from family. Get out, Dad said, and I did. Standing in the driveway with everything I owned, I made myself a promise. I was going to make it. I was going to be so successful, they'd choke on this decision forever. August 23rd, 2012, the day I stopped being their son and started being my own man. The first year was absolute hell. Crashed on my buddy Evan's couch for 4 months while saving every penny. Evan didn't ask questions about why I showed up with garbage bags full of clothes and rage in my eyes. Enrolled at community college, 2 classes at a time, whatever I could afford. Worked 40 hours at the grocery store, picked up odd jobs, fixing cars and doing basic electrical work on weekends. The electrical work was where I found my groove. Started with simple stuff, rewiring outlets, installing ceiling fans, basic residential repairs. Word spread fast when you actually show up on time and don't try to rip people off. By year 2, I had enough side work to quit the grocery store. Moved into a cheap apartment and started calling myself Gilbert Electric. Applied to the IBWU apprenticeship program and got accepted. 4 years of training, guaranteed work pension benefits. The kind of stable career my parents claimed to respect, but somehow never supported when it was my choice. Here's what I learned about the trades. You don't need a business degree to run wire or troubleshoot electrical systems. Just need to show up, work hard, and not be an idiot. The apprenticeship was tough, but fair. Up at 5 a.m. work all day learning from journeymen who didn't tolerate mistakes or excuses. Nights were community college classes. While my brother was presumably building his MLM empire, I was pulling wire through 100-degree attics and learning how to read blueprints. Real skills for real money from real customers who paid their bills. Year 3 of apprenticeship, I started getting calls from contractors who specifically requested me for jobs. Reputation for quality work and showing up when scheduled in the trades puts you in the top 10%. Started offering weekend electrical work for small businesses and residential customers. Upgrade panels, install new circuits, LED retrofits. By the time I finished my apprenticeship, I was a journeyman electrician with my own customer base and enough saved to buy a work van. Got hired by the city doing maintenance on traffic signals and street lighting. Union job with health insurance, pension, overtime opportunities. Base salary of $68,000 before overtime, which was solid money in Ohio. But the real money was my side business. Evenings and weekends doing electrical work for residential and commercial customers. Word-of-mouth referrals, repeat clients growing faster than I could handle alone. Hired my first helper, another union guy looking for extra money, then another. By year 8, Gilbert Electric was running 3 crews and grossing about $400,000 annually. The business grew because I treated customers fairly, showed up when scheduled, and fixed problems permanently instead of temporarily. Then I bought a house, 3 bedrooms with a garage for my tools and a driveway for the work trucks. Mine, no landlord, no roommates, no family. Through these 8 years of building, not one word from my family, complete radio silence, which was fine. I had better stuff to do, but small towns are small and word gets around. People talk, and I heard through mutual friends that my success was making things awkward for my parents. Hard to explain why your son disappeared when he's obviously thriving 20 miles away, running his own business. Year 4, I started hearing things through the grapevine. Killian's revolutionary business opportunity had lasted exactly 7 months before collapsing. Shocking, I know. Apparently, the premium car care products were marked up versions of stuff you could buy at Walmart for half the price. The business model was recruiting other people to buy starter kits they couldn't sell. Bro lost the entire $25,000 plus another $8,000 he borrowed on credit cards for inventory and marketing. My college fund gone. Additional family money gone. Killian's credit destroyed. But according to my cousin Lisa, who still talked to me occasionally, Killian had a ready explanation. The economy crashed at the wrong time. His upline mentor didn't provide adequate support, etc. Never his fault, never poor decision-making. My parents, rather than admitting they'd made a catastrophic mistake, doubled down on supporting Killian's version of events. Bad timing, bad luck? Bad breaks, of course. Then Lisa mentioned Killian had moved back home after losing his apartment at 25 years old, living in his childhood bedroom while I was running my own business and building a customer base. Your parents keep asking if anyone's heard from you, she told me during one of our rare conversations. They're worried you're homeless or on drugs. LOL. Because clearly those were the only possible explanations for them. What do you tell them? That you're doing fine and don't want to talk, but they don't believe it. They think I'm covering for you to spare their feelings. This was my parents' way of processing the situation. I couldn't possibly be thriving without them, so I must be failing and too ashamed to admit it. Meanwhile, Killian was bouncing between jobs again. Wireless phone sales lasted 4 months. Assistant manager at a pizza place lasted 6 months. Car sales lasted 3 weeks before he got fired for not showing up. Too bad. It didn't just stop there. The pattern was escalating. Instead of just failing upward within the family dynamic, he was starting to drag my parents down with him. Year 5, Lisa mentioned Killian had totaled another car, rear-ended someone while texting. DUI charge got reduced to reckless driving, but insurance dropped him. My parents had to add him to their policy and co-sign for another car loan. Your mom's working overtime to help cover Killian's expenses, Lisa said. Your dad picked up weekend security shifts. They were pushing 60 working extra jobs to subsidize their 27-year-old son's inability to function like an adult. Year 8, I heard Killian was dating some woman with 2 kids from previous relationships. Within 6 months, she was pregnant and they were engaged. Killian, who couldn't hold a job or manage his own finances, was about to become responsible for 3 children. My parents were ecstatic. Killian was settling down and becoming responsible. The pregnancy was proof he was maturing, ready to be a family man. I mentioned this to Evan, who'd known Killian in high school. Didn't Killian cheat on every girlfriend he ever had? Everyone I knew about. And now he's getting married. Apparently, my parents think it's wonderful. Evan shook his head. Some people never learn. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, addressed to my business. Someone had done homework to track down my company address, since I'd moved twice since leaving home and never provided forwarding information. Expensive paper, fancy printing venue at some country club outside town. The kind of wedding that costs serious money. My first instinct was to toss it. The second was to laugh. Third was curiosity. After 8 years of silence, why invite me now? My girlfriend Na looked over my shoulder as I read it. We'd been dating for 2 years and she knew the whole story, but never pushed me to reconcile. Are you going? I shouldn't. That's not what I asked. I leaned back in my chair. Part of me wants to see what Killian's been up to. What kind of woman marries a guy with his track record, what my parents tell people about their missing son? And the other part thinks it's a terrible idea that'll just cause drama. Na was quiet, then said, "When's the last time you talked to anyone from your family? Don't you wonder what they say about you? What people think happened?" I did wonder. Small town. Everyone knows everyone's business. My disappearance couldn't have gone unnoticed. I think you should do whatever feels right. But Nick, you built something real. You got nothing to apologize for. The more I thought about it, the more curious I got. 8 years was a long time. I'd gone from broke dropout to successful business owner. What had Killian accomplished with his head start and my college fund plus? I'll admit part of me wanted them to see I'd survived their betrayal just fine. Not to be a jerk about it. Okay, maybe a little to be a jerk about it, but to show them throwing me out had been their loss, not mine. Decided to RSVP for 2 and make a proper showing of it. Did some research on Killian's fiancée, Camilla, high school dropout, worked at various retail jobs. 2 kids from different fathers. Not judging her choices, but definitely not the settling down with a responsible woman narrative my parents were probably selling. The week before the wedding, I made sure my work van was clean and my business cards were current. Nah raised an eyebrow when she saw me organizing my wallet, planning to hand out business cards at the reception. Just being prepared. You know this might be petty, right? Completely. You have a problem with that? She grinned. Not even a little. I'm actually excited to see how this plays out. Drove to the wedding in my personal truck, newer F-150. Na wore a nice dress. I wore a decent suit. We looked like people who had their stuff together. St. Mary's Catholic Church was packed. Killian apparently had more friends than I remembered, or Camilla's family was large. Either way, about 150 people in the pews for what was obviously an expensive ceremony. Found seats toward the back where I could observe without making a scene. From there, I could see my parents in the front row. Dad's hair completely gray now. Mom wearing a new dress, yet looking older. Music started and Killian appeared at the altar looking nervous as heck. Still had that cocky expression, but there was something desperate about it now, like he was trying to convince himself this was a good idea. His best man was Eddie from high school, which was interesting. Eddie had always been Killian's enabler, the guy who encouraged his worst decisions and helped him avoid consequences. The wedding march began and Camilla appeared. During the ceremony, I found myself watching the crowd more than the couple. Killian kept glancing around like he was looking for approval from the audience. When his eyes found mine, his face went pale and he actually stumbled during his vows. Good. Let him know I was here. When they kissed and everyone applauded, I caught my mother turning to scan the crowd. Her eyes found mine and she literally gasped out loud. Dad followed her gaze and his expression went through several emotions. Surprise, anger, confusion. They clearly hadn't expected me to show up. Probably sent the invitation out of obligation or family pressure. Figured I'd ignore it. I leaned over. Think they're happy to see you? About as happy as I expected. As people filed out toward the reception, I saw my parents having what looked like an urgent conference with Killian and Camilla. Killian was pointing my direction. Camilla looked confused. My parents looked like they were trying to manage a crisis. Want to go say hello? Na asked. Let's see how long it takes them to approach us. The reception was at Pine Grove Country Club, about a 20-minute drive from the church. Na and I took our time, grabbed coffee. Let everyone else get settled first. Cocktail hour was on an outdoor patio overlooking the golf course. Open bar, past appetizers, string quartet. Killian and Camilla had gone all out for this performance. I found a spot near the bar where I could watch without being obvious. That's when I started noticing the conversations happening around us. Camilla's family was clustered on one side, working-class folks who'd clearly stretched their budgets for nice clothes and wedding gifts. Killian's friends were the same crowd from high school, most looking like they'd peaked at 18 and been sliding downhill ever since. My parents were working the room like politicians, introducing Killian to people talking up his business ventures and entrepreneurial spirit. Same nonsense they'd always peddled about his potential. That's when Eddie spotted me. Nick Gilbert. He came over with a drink already half finished. Dude, I can't believe you're here. Killian said you guys weren't talking. We're not, just came to see him get married. That's cool, man, real cool. Hey, what you been up to? Killian mentioned you were doing electrical work or something. Something like that. Eddie launched into his life story, bouncing between jobs, living with roommates, generally going nowhere fast. Classic trajectory for Killian's crew. But Killian's doing good, though, Eddie continued. Got that business thing going. Marrying Camilla, going to be a stepdad. Real responsible now. What business thing? Oh, he's got this online thing, cryptocurrency or something. Making decent money from what I hear. He says he's pulling in like $3,000 a month. Cryptocurrency. Of course, Killian had moved from MLM car products to crypto speculation, from one get-rich-quick scheme to another. Either Killian was lying to impress people, or he was about to lose another pile of money on internet gambling disguised as investment. That's when my father appeared. Nick. He stood there like he was expecting me to apologize for coming. Didn't think you'd come. Wouldn't miss Killian's special day. Dad's jaw tightened. We need to talk about you being here. Killian's nervous enough without you causing problems. What problems am I causing? I'm minding my own business. Your presence is making people ask questions. What questions? Like why Killian's own brother had disappeared for 8 years without explanation. Maybe you should have thought about that before you sent the invitation. Na appeared at my elbow. Everything okay here? Dad looked her up and down like he was evaluating livestock. Who is this? Nick's girlfriend. Na Collins. She extended her hand. You must be Mr. Gilbert. Dad shook her hand reluctantly. Dennis Gilbert, Nick's father. Nice to finally meet you, Na said. Nick's mentioned you. That's when my mother materialized, looking like she'd been crying or was about to start. Nick, sweetie, you look so grown up. She moved like she wanted to hug me, then stopped when I didn't open my arms. We've missed you so much. Have you? Of course we have. We're family. Family doesn't stop loving each other just because of disagreements. Where have you been living? She continued. We've been so worried. Nobody knew where you went. Before I could answer, Killian himself appeared with Camilla in tow. 8 years had not been kind to my brother. Still had that cocky smile, but his face was softer, like he'd been living on takeout and fast food. Hairline receding, gut showing despite the expensive tux. Camilla looked nervous. Nick! His voice was carefully neutral. Thanks for coming. Congratulations. Thanks. Listen, I know things were weird when you left, but I'm glad you're here. Families should be together for stuff like this. When I left, not when I was kicked out, not when my college fund was stolen. Things were weird, I agreed. But that's water under the bridge. Killian relaxed slightly. Good, good. That's what I was hoping. Hey, I want you to meet Camilla. Camilla, this is my little brother, Nick. Camilla smiled uncertainly. Nice to meet you, Nick. Killian's told me so much about you. Has he? What did he tell you? She glanced at Killian, then back at me. Just that you guys lost touch after high school. Brothers growing up going different directions. You know how it is. Killian's version of events was creative. I'd give him that. Yeah, I said, different directions. Killian went into business. I went into electrical work. Oh, you're an electrician. That's great. Can't complain. Union benefits, pension, all that. Plus, I run my own company on the side. Killian's smile flickered. Company. Gilbert Electric. Residential and commercial work. 3 crews, a couple hundred customers. Keeping busy. I watched this information hit him like cold water. That's great, Nick. Really great. But his voice said it wasn't great at all. Camilla was looking between Killian and me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. You have your own electrical company? How long have you been doing that? Built it up over the last 8 years. Started during my apprenticeship. Grew from there. That's amazing. Killian, you never mentioned Nick had his own business. Bro's face was starting to show strain. We don't talk much. I didn't know about all that. Well, we should fix that, Camilla said, apparently trying to broker family peace on her wedding day. Families should stay connected, especially when you're both doing well. Both doing well. She thought Killian was doing well. That's when Eddie, tipsy and oblivious, wandered over with more drinks and loose lips and dropped the bomb. Yo, Killian, remember when we were talking about Nick being homeless? Guess that was wrong, huh? The group went quiet. Camilla's expression shifted to confusion. Homeless, Eddie, realizing he'd stepped in something, tried to backtrack. Oh, Killian just said nobody knew where Nick was living, so we figured maybe you told people I was homeless. I asked Killian directly. No, there was confusion about your situation. What have you been telling people about me? Killian was sweating now, tugging at his collar. Look, nobody knew where you'd gone or what happened to you. People asked questions. I gave them answers that made sense. What do you mean? Camilla was staring at her new husband like she'd never seen him before. Killian, what is he talking about? Before Killian could spin this, my cousin Lisa appeared from across the patio. She'd obviously been watching this conversation develop and decided to join the show. Nick, oh my God, you actually came. She hugged me like we'd seen each other yesterday. You look great. I was just telling someone about your electrical company. Did you know the Hendersons used you to rewire their whole house? They said you were fantastic. Killian's face went another shade pale. Camilla looked confused. The Hendersons? Our neighbors? Yeah. Lisa continued, oblivious to the tension. They couldn't stop talking about how professional Nick's crew was. Said it was the best contractor experience they'd ever had. My parents had gone very quiet, probably realizing this conversation was heading somewhere they couldn't control. Killian, Camilla said slowly, didn't you tell me Nick was working at a gas station? That was a long time ago. You said he dropped out of community college and couldn't keep a job. The silence was getting uncomfortable. Na was standing beside me watching this unfold like a car wreck. Lisa, bless her heart, was still talking. Oh no, Nick graduated from community college, then went through the electrical apprenticeship. Union journeyman, now owns Gilbert Electric. Does really good work from what everyone says. Camilla turned to look at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert. Didn't you tell me Nick had problems, that he disappeared because of drug issues? My mother's face went white. We didn't know where he was, Dad said defensively. When someone disappears without explanation, you worry about all kinds of things. I didn't disappear without explanation, I said quietly. I left because you kicked me out. Silence. We did not kick you out. You told me if I couldn't respect family decisions, I could find somewhere else to live. What would you call that? Camilla was looking around at all of us like she was trying to piece together a lie that had just unraveled. Wait, family decisions about what? This was it, the moment of truth. I could take the high road, let Killian keep his secrets, avoid ruining Camilla's wedding day. Or I could tell her exactly what kind of family she'd married into. Looking at Killian, sweating, panicking, probably already planning how to spin this disaster made the choice easy. About my college fund, I said. The $22,000 they gave Killian for his business venture. Camilla went very still. What business venture? Killian looked like a cornered animal. Camilla, it's complicated. Tell me, what business venture? The car detailing thing, Eddie offered helpfully. The MLM deal that went south. And there it was out in the open for everyone to hear. The silence that followed Eddie's comment was the kind you feel in your chest. Camilla was staring at Killian like she was seeing him for the first time. MLM deal, she repeated. He looked like he wanted to crawl under the patio. Camilla, let's talk about this later. No, let's talk about it now. What MLM deal? My parents were exchanging panicked looks, probably realizing their narrative was about to explode publicly. Lisa, finally picking up on the tension, tried to excuse herself, but Camilla grabbed her arm. Lisa, what do you know about this? Lisa glanced around nervously. I heard Killian lost some money on a business thing a few years back. And what does it have to do with Nick's college fund? Killian convinced our parents to invest my entire college fund in a multi-level marketing scheme selling car care products, I said. $22,000 that was supposed to pay for my education. Went to buy Killian a franchise in what was basically a pyramid scheme. Her face cycled through her disbelief, horror, and rage. You took your brother's college money. It wasn't like that, Killian said desperately. It was a family investment. I was going to pay it back. How much did you pay back? Killian couldn't answer. The business failed because of market conditions. How much did you pay back? None of it, I answered for him. Lost every penny in 7 months. She stepped back. You lost $22,000 of your brother's college money. It wasn't just his money, my mother interjected, trying to do damage control. It was family money saved for both boys' educations. Both boys, Camilla turned on my parents. Then where's Killian's college fund? Where's his $22,000? My parents went silent. There weren't $22,000 saved for Killian, I said. He barely graduated high school and wasn't planning on college. That money was specifically for my education. Camilla was putting pieces together now, and she didn't like the picture. So you gave Nick's college fund to Killian for a business that failed, and then you kicked Nick out when he objected. We didn't. We told him if he couldn't support family decisions, he should find somewhere else to do his complaining, Mom said. Camilla stared at her new in-laws. Ma'am, you threw out your 18-year-old son for objecting to his college fund being stolen. It wasn't stolen, Killian said weakly. What would you call it? Camilla was getting loud enough that other guests were starting to look over. Na, who'd been quietly watching this disaster unfold, leaned over to me. Should we leave? This is getting ugly? Not yet. More people were drifting over now, drawn by the raised voices. Camilla's mother appeared looking concerned. Honey, what's wrong? People can hear you across the patio. Camilla laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. What's wrong is I just found out my husband stole his brother's college fund, lost all the money on a pyramid scheme, then let his family kick his brother out and tell people he was homeless and on drugs. Mrs. Torres, I assumed, looked around at my family with obvious disgust. God, is this true? That's when Killian made the mistake of getting defensive. You know what, everyone's acting like I'm some kind of criminal. It was a legitimate business opportunity that didn't work out. Stuff happens. At least I was trying to build something instead of hiding in some garage fixing electrical outlets. The crowd around us had grown to maybe 30 people now, and Killian's comment about hiding in garages hit exactly wrong. Hiding in garages, I repeated. Yeah, hiding. Running away from family, starting over somewhere else instead of sticking around and working through problems like an adult. Working through what problems? You stole my freaking money. I objected. You had me kicked out. What was there to work through? You could have supported my business instead of tearing it down before it had a chance. I could have supported the pyramid scheme that stole my future. It wasn't a pyramid scheme. That's when Eddie, intoxicated and helpful, as always, chimed in again. Dude, yes it was. You had to recruit other people to buy starter kits, and you made money from their purchases. That's literally a pyramid scheme. Killian turned on his best man. Shut up, Eddie. Camilla was watching this exchange with growing horror. Her new husband was a liar, a thief, and an idiot who'd fallen for an obvious scam. On their wedding day in front of everyone who mattered to her. Killian, she said, voice deadly quiet, we need to talk right now. Before they could escape, my mother made one final attempt to salvage the situation. Camilla, dear, you have to understand that Nick has always been a difficult child. He was stubborn and argumentative, never appreciated what the family was trying to do for him. Difficult, Camilla turned on my mother with fury that had been building all conversation. He was difficult because he objected to being robbed. My mother went silent. Camilla turned to me. Nick, I am so sorry. If I'd known any of this, I never would have. This is not the family Killian described to me. He said you guys had grown apart after high school, that you dropped out of college and were working odd jobs, that you'd cut off contact because you were embarrassed about not living up to expectations. And you believed that? I had no reason not to. Killian said you had problems with authority and responsibility, that you'd always been jealous of his success. The guy who'd never held a job longer than 6 months had convinced his fiancée he was successful. That's when the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Camilla, I said, what did Killian tell you he does for work? She glanced at him, who looked like he wanted to disappear. He said he's in cryptocurrency investment managing portfolios for clients. Interesting. Killian had graduated from MLM car wax to pretending he was a financial advisor. And how much does he make from this cryptocurrency business? He said about $4,000 a month, sometimes more when the market's good. I looked at bro. $4,000 a month. His face was red now, sweating despite the cool evening air. The crypto market's been volatile, he said weakly. Eddie, I called over to his best man. Didn't you tell me Killian was making $3,000 a month? Eddie, confused by being dragged back into this, nodded. Yeah, that's what he said. And a couple years ago, when that MLM thing was supposedly taking off, what did he tell everyone he was making? Oh, he said he was going to be pulling $5,000 a month within 6 months. The pattern was obvious now. He always claimed to be making good money, always had some business venture that was about to make him rich, always had explanations for why the money never actually materialized. Camilla was connecting the same dots. Killian, if you're making $4,000 a month, why are you living with your parents? Silence. Why did I have to pay for most of this wedding? More silence. Why are you behind on your car payments? Killian looked like a puppy, couldn't meet her eyes. The market's been really tough. You're not making anything from cryptocurrency because you're not actually in cryptocurrency, are you? Killian finally lost it. Fine. You want the truth? I work part-time at AutoZone for $12 an hour. I live with my parents because I can't afford my own place. I'm 30 years old and I'm a complete failure. Happy now. The confession hung in the air like smoke. 30 years old, living at home, working retail, lying to his new wife about imaginary success while trashing his brother. Camilla stared at him for a long moment, then started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind of laughter that comes when something is so absurd you can't process it any other way. AutoZone, she said. $12 an hour at AutoZone. Camilla, you work at AutoZone, live with your parents, and you convinced me you were a successful cryptocurrency investor. I'm working on building something bigger. You're 30 years old. When are you going to stop working on building something and actually build something? Camilla looked at her family, who'd been watching this train wreck with obvious embarrassment. Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you privately. As they walked away, I heard her say, how do I get this marriage annulled? Killian stood there in his expensive tux, watching his wedding day collapse around him. His friends were backing away. My parents were huddled together looking defeated, and guests were starting to leave. Nick, he said quietly, I'm sorry I messed up. I looked at my brother. This was a 30-year-old man whose life had imploded because he'd built it entirely on lies and family money. Yeah, you did. Is there any way we can fix this? Fix what exactly? Your marriage? I mean, between us brothers. I thought about it. 8 years of building something real while Killian bounced between fantasies and failures. 8 years of suffering and hard work because my parents chose him over me. Killian, here's the thing. I don't need you anymore. I don't need this family anymore. You guys made that clear a long time ago. But we're family. Family my ass. Silence. Na appeared at my side. Ready to go. Yeah, I've seen enough. As we walked toward the parking lot, I heard my mother calling after us. Nick, son, wait. I ignored her. Na and I got in the truck and drove away, leaving them to deal with the wreckage of their golden son. 3 months later, I heard through Lisa that Camilla had gotten the marriage annulled. Killian was still living with my parents, still working at AutoZone. My parents tried reaching out a few times, but I didn't respond. Some bridges once burned aren't worth rebuilding. Na and I got engaged last month. Simple proposal, no drama, just two people who chose each other and built something together. I did not invite my family.